I think we should all aspire to be gentlemen, really.
Yeah.
But I'm getting older, so it probably happens as you get older. You know, I remember being this young person that couldn't give a when we're younger. It's all that Jack the Lad stuff when you're younger. Then suddenly you think, no, let's be pleasant.
Massive times ahead here in Australia because it's been 4 years since we last got to see you and the boys come down and perform down under. You've got the last ever full-on electric Australian tour coming up next month, the last night of the Electrics, and then you hang up the Electrics. Wow, what a big time this is going to be.
I hope so, yes. And I must confess it seems to be taking a change somewhat now, but this, thinking about it, if we come back in 4 years' time to Australia, so this, if nowhere else, it could definitely be the last in Australia. And there's always that strange thing over the last, I don't know how many years, every time we go to Australia, I think, I wonder if this is the last time, I wonder if this is the last. But I sometimes feel that when I'm going up the stairs, I wonder if I'll come back down. You just don't know. So yes, but we called it last night of the Electrics. Lots of stuff, reasons that Rick's failing health at the time. We had acoustic albums that were doing extremely well, and I thought it would be just that. But I've suddenly got back into playing the electric again. I think, when you're pushed against it, something happens. And when Rick was first, he'd been ill before and would use Jill's son, Freddie, who's a really good guitar player, and it's like having one of the family. You've seen him grow up. So it was still kind of temporary, and then Rick realised he couldn't come to work anymore. And so we got this Irish guy who's been a fan of ours for some years, and something, I suppose, with the rest of us, because it was, oh God, this is serious, Rick's not coming back. And it made us all focus, concentrate. And I think we play the stuff very similar to as it was recorded now, or there are things in the dynamics and of the arrangement that are something revitalised or something. And I noticed that we tend to look each other in certain ways. You can see that people see the look in the eyes where we're looking at each other to see what may happen next.
Yeah.
That's made it kind of exciting again. And perhaps it's natural for older bands, or maybe for us anyway, that there's a certain, maybe became complacent. It's tricky to get a balance between being rehearsed and slick and sloppy, but having that balance all the time, trying to make it. You need to be an alto to a certain degree, but the very fact that this happened, we couldn't be an alto. We had to focus and think. And as our manager said, it sounded like it's kicked you in the arse, in the derriere, and it has. And I'm kind of confused all over again because I thought I knew what was happening. And I've always kind of known what's coming next and where we're going to be and how this goes and so on. But suddenly this has thrown something into the equation that has completely confused me. But I find I'm really, really enjoying playing shows again. It feels like being in a young band that's striving against the world. It's one of the things that drives younger bands on, I think. It's us guys against everyone. And it feels a little that way. It does feel a bit that way again now, which is weird because I'm 41 now. Yeah. Did I get away with that?
Yeah, sort of. Almost. I was going to say your maths are a little bit off considering when Status Quo actually kicked off. But, look, we'll run with that.
Yeah, no good. Yeah, they point that out. Yeah, I take your point. Yeah.
Given your love of the guitar, you in case wanting a guitar as a Christmas present when you were a kid, and I saw a particular picture of you, and I can't remember where I saw this, but it was one of your guitars, and the paint was fading away. There was wood paneling coming off it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got such a strong attachment. When you said, okay, we're going to create the last night of the Electrics tour, and this is going to be the last electric tour here in Australia and stuff like that. How hard is it to actually come to terms with that, with such an instrument that you've had such an incredible attachment to?
Well, I think when you're planning things, like I was just saying to you, I don't know where we're going next, whereas I usually do. Usually plans are sort of a year to 2 years ahead. So, yeah, I can deal with that. Yeah, we're going to stop work. I mean, the first time I stopped was, I think I was 30-something. And then you think, well, I don't know what to do. I thought I'd stop, and I didn't. So all the time you think, yeah, that's going to be good. And then we come up to the date that's about to happen, and it seems to keep getting extended a little. But I often think about Australia, as I said, in the 4-year cycle. Oh God, I'll be a bit older if I go back then. And upstairs on the top floor of my house where my bathroom and the wife's bathroom, as I come out of there, as I come down these steps, there's this mirror. Mm. And I keep meaning to move it because I'm quite happy here in the morning. Lovely. And I walk down these 3 steps and I see this other guy whose neck's got some sort of turkey's been living in his neck. Someone's put lines through his head instead of through his nose. And these serious bags under his eyes. And I think, but you see that for that moment, I always think, I forget I'm that old. And all the things that I'd said about older people and what it's like to be old and what our world does. And here I am.
But when you're up on stage, though, I mean, when you just hammer into your first note of another big live gig with all your best mates right behind you, do you even worry about your age then? Does it matter?
No. That's what I was trying to say. I mean, occasionally you might get, I'm announcing and I suddenly realise that, you might say to the audience, last time I was here I had hair, or last time I was here I didn't have gooseneck, those kind of things. But generally, I was thinking about it last night, I looked through, I saw something on the TV about some footage, and I quickly turned it off. But I often look and think, you look a dickhead, don't do that. Don't nod your head like that, or don't put your legs, whatever it is. So I've always maintained, I've tried for many, many years now not to look at what we do.
Yeah.
Because I think I would start saying, no, you look stupid, don't do that. And, I'm not doing that because that makes me feel a twat, and don't do this because it's... But I believe that something in whomever is on the stage that the audience like. If we start trimming what we think it is, I could end up trimming away what the audience like about him. See, he's a very complicated person.
Well, Francis...
Deep and meaningful shite. Sorry, what?
That's all right. Well, you mentioned before the health that Rick was going through, the concerns that he was going through, and, of course, the sadness that the Status Quo has been through as of recent times, too. And this, I read that this show coming to Australia is going to be an opportunity for the Quo to tip their hats to the late Rick Parfitt. Is there going to be a special tribute in these shows that you're performing here? Is there a sort of a montage of Rick, that kind of thing?
We still do a couple of the tunes that Rick was known for, but it's difficult because we had to address all that last year and early this year. And I find it very odd to walk into a show where there's this sort of euphoria of this expectation, and then we start with a negative, that we're missing Rick, and that's not really wise to do. It's documented and everything how Rick is, and we have to draw a line at that point. And so, as I said, to go on and start the show and reminding people of the sadness, it's sort of incongruous to this night we're about to have. Or we go out, do some sort of tribute, and then you kind of put it down and get on. I find that difficult. So I don't think there'd be anything on stage like that, other than the fact that we do 2 or 3 of the numbers that Rick was known for.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, big show, full electrics, just so much fun. And, of course, Status Quo known for so many songs that you just nod your head and you can't help but stomp your feet to as well. How long does it take you after a really big gig just to calm down, just to get back to reality? Because it just seems like high energy from woe to go.
Well, that's one, I suppose, part of the thing that keeps you going. And usually when you get a rhythm to working on the show, and the best time is going up the back stairs of the bus to my room, and you've finished, you've achieved your show, and it's all... there are nights quite often, you get a show when you think it's so good, it almost hurts, it's delicious. And there's a few times this year, and various times, and the PA that looks after us all came up the back stairs of the bus, and she looked at me, it was nearly 1:30, she said, shouldn't you be in bed? I said, well, I don't want to go to bed. She said, but you've got to be up then when you breakfast. We have a routine, I stick to a routine. And she said, well, why? I said, well, if I go to bed, tonight's show's gone. And that's the only... So when sometimes it's that you don't want to go, because then it's like the little counter goes all the way back to 0 again. You wake up in the morning and you start again. You can't take a great show with you to the following night.
Yeah.
But the plus there, I suppose, is if you have a negative show, you don't have to carry that. But we've learnt to... It's like yourself. You'll do this and you'll get home, done.
Yeah.
As much as you love your job, and everybody luckily enough to love their jobs, there's still that point of, I've done it. And that's the best couple of hours of the day that you've achieved the show. Hopefully you've played well.
Yeah.
And then there's your own time, like anybody else. And I really look forward to that.
Oh,
I can see the reflection, myself reflecting in the mirror in the windows of the bus because they're blacked out. And I look at myself thinking, God, that body needs looking at. And then I get dressed and then get fed and then I'll start playing guitar again. And watch some sort of thing. I'm a binge watcher on the bus who just put things on and watch them episode after episode.
Wow. So
I'm getting excited again.
So basically, when you do have the time to yourself, when you finally, in between shows or just after a big show, you just go, right, well, I'm going to do this. What do you do with yourself? Have you got a particular hobby or something that you really like to spend time doing when you're not touring or performing?
If I'm at home, it's generally... I like to do crosswords, jigsaw puzzles and such, or I mess around in the garden and so on. But generally, I practice every day because I was such a cocky young person that didn't practice. I now find myself trying to catch up a lot, which is not going to happen because, as I said, I'm nearly 41 now.
Yes.
And so I won't catch up. I find them a little institutionalized in apart from the road life, which we've all been discussing a lot lately, because I suppose of our age, that you realise you are who you are when you're out there. You're that person, and it's your reason to be there, and so on. But generally, I think I'm pretty obsessed with the whole thing of being in Quo, and it's been there since I was 12 or 13. So I don't know the amount of what else. One of my daughters said, "If you do retire, what are you going to do at night?" Because ever since she's 22, that one, and she said, well, ever since I can remember, you sit and play guitar every night. So if you retire,
what's next?
And I had to think about it and thought, no, I'll play guitar every night, fine. So I will probably find it very difficult if it ever happens to put Status Quo down.
Yeah.
I dare say they'll put me down. Like I said, I'm not sure I'm going to make it up the stairs. I can see stairs from where I'm sitting. I keep thinking, well, I'm going to go up there. And I think, if I get up there, what if I make the top of those? It happens. You start thinking that way. You think, wow, will I wake in the morning? I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, joys of life, huh?
Well, stairs or no stairs, we are so stoked that you're coming to Australia and some big shows coming up, including on the Gold Coast, Newcastle, Sydney, Rock the Boat, Melbourne as well. We can't wait. And I've got to say, Francis, I've had an absolute ball catching up with you tonight, mate. Thank you so much for taking the time and having a chat. And look, stay away from stairs, obviously, but we can't wait to see you rock out Australia once again with the last night of the Electrics. It'll be awesome to have you back here.
Thank you. We're looking forward to it. We're going to be there.